Hey guys, and welcome back to the Doctor Who action figure review. In today's video, we're taking a look at yet more Doctor Who action figures that have just been released in B&M stores this past couple of weeks. It's crazy to think that we're still getting Doctor Who figures. We've got so many this year, and henceforth, I've reviewed so many this year. So here we have, just off camera, all 6 of the brand new B&M sets, and I'm going to take a look at them for you guys today. So kicking off, as always, we'll look at the packaging. The packaging is a pretty standard affair with the Doctor Who line nowadays. You've got Doctor Who logo, TARDIS, name of what it is, the story, rendered TARDIS on the side. On the back, you've got images of the figures, and in the case of the Daleks, you've got read-ups of the stories and the props. Then with the TARDIS, we've got same again, but with the picture of the TARDIS there, and the picture of the TARDIS on the back. And same again with the figures. We've got 3 figures there, and on the back, images of the 3 figures. Same for all of them, but in the case of the TARDIS and the Daleks sets, we of course now get the familiar inserts. So I just thought I'd have a quick look at these, just because why not? So with the Chase set, we get the Mechanus Jungle, or a render of something very similar to the Mechanus Jungle. For the TARDIS set, we get a forest from the Visitation, with, if you see the android, you know, looking like Death, or the Grim Reaper in the background, which is really nice. And then for the Master Plan Dalek set, we of course have the Dalek control room. Really cool stuff. I actually keep these. I undo all the tabs and then make them flat and then keep them. I just think they're really cool. They are so cool that we're getting stuff like that. It's really neat. So taking a look at the figures, we'll start off with the ones that I would say are the least exciting, which is the Dalek sets. So let's kick off with the Chase set, which we have here. This of course features a guard Dalek and a regular Dalek from that story. Taking a look first of all though at the guard Dalek, if you missed out on the sound effects guard Dalek from many years ago, then you'll be thrilled that they finally released this Dalek. In essence, though, it is the same as the Jungles of Mechanus Dalek that we got, or aka the movie Daleks, that we got a couple of months ago, just without the enlarged fender. This time it obviously has the thin base, but otherwise the colours are virtually identical to what we saw with the original Jungles of Mechanus Daleks. And it's a lovely figure. It really is. I mean, you can see for yourself. The blue and the gold, it just looks so good. And I already have the sound effects Dalek, but I'm thrilled to have finally got another one, because it always looks nice having 2. And it's more Daleks. You can't complain at more Daleks. Looking at the guard Dalek though, we have, or the regular Dalek I should say, this is a revision of the original Chase Dalek from the Chase set from many years ago. The only difference is being that the silver, you might be able to tell, is slightly more silver. There's more of a shine to it. The ears are slightly different. The eye now has the smaller pupil, which I like. I think that's a nice little variation. But most notably, the shoulder section, or the midsection, is now this much lighter grey. And this is the same with all of the Daleks in this wave. I don't know how I feel about this, because it isn't accurate. But actually, when I was playing around with these figures when I first got them, I was looking at it going, it might not be accurate, but it actually looks really good, which is the slightly ironic thing about it. But it looks cool, even if it isn't entirely accurate. But apart from that, all the detail that you've come to expect from 60s Daleks is there, nice and lovely. I won't go over the articulation for all the Daleks, but you know what you're what you're expecting. You've got up and down with the eye, 360 on the head, it's a bit stiff on mine, and then the gun and the plunger on ball joints, and it is of course on 3 wheels. So next up we have, on the theme of Daleks, we have the Daleks Master Plan set, featuring the Supreme Dalek and the Flamethrower Dalek. Once again, they both have the lighter midsections. I think that's going to be a thing with the B&M Daleks from now on. So I don't know how I feel about that, but hey ho. In terms of looking at the Supreme Dalek though, apart from that, it is exactly the same as the original that came out with the first Doctor back in 2013. However, now we have the smaller pupil, which I'm very happy about because it does give a bit of variation to the original if you have the original, which I do. But apart from that, it is exactly the same figure because nothing else needs changing on it. It is such a good figure originally, and I'm happy to see it re-released because I know the original Toys R Us version was very rare. And then looking at the Flamethrower Dalek, this is again the same figure that we got in the Enemies of the First Doctor set back in, oh, when was it now? 2011, I think, just with the lighter midsection, and it's otherwise exactly the same, which, fair enough. It was a great figure at the time, and it's still a great figure. And like the previous one, we do have the removable flame, which just ports into there like so. So that is the Dalek sets 3 and 4, the history of the Dalek sets. Moving on, we'll take a look at the 5th Doctor and TARDIS from the Visitation. When these figures were originally leaked, it did say that this set was from Castrovalva, but now it's from the Visitation, and I don't know why. You know, I think it would have been the same either way, but hey ho, it's a change in story title. So what? So kicking off with the 5th Doctor, as there's not a great deal to say about this one. You have an amazing figure. This is still a brilliant figure of the 5th Doctor with an exceptional head sculpt, if that'll focus. And some very, very crisp details like in the hair or the jumper or the trousers. It's a really, really nice figure. And of course, if you're a Doctor Who collector, then you'll know that this figure has been released before as a San Diego Comic Con exclusive with the Master. And here we have it for comparison. There aren't many changes, chief among being the colour of the jumper. The new one has a far, far whiter jumper, which I'm not sure if that's accurate. I think the original is accurate. More accurate, I should say. But it's a bit of a variation, and who's to say that the 5th Doctor didn't start out with a very, very clean jumper and it just became dirty after all of his adventures. And then we have a difference in the colour of the jacket, which isn't very noticeable on camera, but you can notice it more in person. I think the new one is technically more accurate in that regard. Let's take a look at the TARDIS. If you bought the Caves of Androzani TARDIS from B&M when that came out, when was it? A couple of years ago now? Last year, maybe? Then you'll know what to expect. It's exactly the same TARDIS, just without the mud effect on the bottom. I actually have mine up there. You might be able to just see it. But I can't get it down at the minute. But it's an absolutely brilliant TARDIS. This is probably my favourite toy of the classic TARDISes. It's just so nice. The colour of the blue is lovely. There's great details in the wash, the dirty wash over the police box signage. It's just such a lovely looking toy. My only gripe with the TARDIS, and this isn't a gripe with the box itself, it's a gripe with how it's packaged, is that now Character Options have adapted this. I think it's cut down on plastic use. This policy of not using the plastic band that goes through the doors. Instead, they package it with the doors sellotaped. And if you can't see it, or you might be able to see it slightly on this one, it does leave a slight residue that becomes quite tacky. So that's not very good. But other than that, it's an absolutely wonderful TARDIS. As ever, the doors open, there are no sound effects, no light effects, but that's what we've come to expect from these B&M sets for the price of £20, which you can't grumble with. So next up, we will have a look at probably the set that I was least excited for when I saw it being revealed, as I thought, oh, I'm not too fussed about getting these variants, but actually now I've got them in hand, they are really good figures, and that is the Friends of the 13th Doctor. What I like about this is that we actually have the entire gang in one set, so if you missed out on the original, or didn't want to buy Jadoon Trooper, or didn't buy the singular Graham, now you can just buy them all in one set, all said and done. So we have Graham. First of all, working out where to put the other two figures. We have Graham, first of all, in his brown jacket from, I want to say something like Demons of the Punjab or It Takes You Away. He wears this quite a lot, I think. So we have him in his brown jacket with a nice checked shirt at the top, and then some nice brown jacket detailing and blue jeans. It looks really good. Once again, a brilliant head sculpt resembling Bradley Walsh brilliantly, in my opinion. Let's see if that'll focus. Then we have Ryan in his costume from the Ghost Monument, which I cannot remember anything of to save my life. So we have Ryan. These are all repaints of their previous versions, hence why they're not completely accurate, but it's slightly different colour on the jacket, and then obviously the different trousers and shoes, which the orange of the trousers does make it stand out quite a lot on the shelf, but that's what he looked like in the story, so you can't grumble. And once again, there's an absolutely amazing likeness to Tosin Cole. Sorry, the sunlight from my window is might be slightly hindering that, but you can see it's an absolutely brilliant likeness. And finally, we have Yaz from Fugitive of the Jadoon, another figure from that Jadoon story. And this is an absolutely wonderful figure. We have, once again, a brilliant likeness of Mandip Gill, a brilliant rendition of this costume with some super paint apps on the shirt. The jacket's a nice colour, the jeans are a nice colour, and we have the red boots. So overall, this is an absolutely brilliant figure. It's actually a really good set. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I do, but when you have them three costumes posed next to Jodie, the 13th Doctor, I should say, it's absolutely brilliant. So next up, we'll have a look at the one that I was probably second most excited for when I saw them revealed, for one big reason, and that is the friends, no, it's not the friends, the companions of the 3rd and 4th Doctor. And I was chiefly excited for this, Romana 1 from The Power of Kroll. If you saw my reaction video to seeing all of these figures revealed, which I did, I think 2 weeks ago, and then you'll know how excited I was to get my hands on Romana 1 in a much more accurate costume than her original figure. I didn't mind the original figure, but this is so much better because it is so much more accurate to what we see. So once again, we have great likeness to Mary Tam, which looks superb. We have brand new tooling for this tunic or dress, whatever you like to call it, and that is over a Sarah Jane Adventures Sarah Jane figure base. Why not? It works brilliantly. I'm always for that argument of if you have parts that can be reused, reuse them, and that has been used to great effect here. It looks absolutely brilliant. So next up, continuing with Romana, we have her in a Next Generation, Romana 2, this time from the Horns of Naimon. This is a figure that I think most people thought would be released because it's virtually the same costume as the Destiny of the Daleks figure, just with different colours and without the scarf. And that's what they've done here. Nice, very, very nice colour for the red jacket. Slightly darker red for the gloves. Once again, brilliant likeness of Lala Ward. Some nice paint apps for the beige and black trousers and boots. And then if we open up the jacket, we have brilliant paint details, paint apps representing the cravat, shirt and waistcoat. I know that some people probably would have liked to have seen that sculpted rather than painted, but we've seen that before with figures like Marcus Starman, which is just off camera, in that they've taken an existing figure and rather than invest in new tooling to make it the costume entirely screen accurate, they painted the details on, and honestly, I don't mind. It gets the figure out, and at the end of the day, we're getting new Doctor Who figures, so what can be better than that? Finally, we have Sarah Jane Smith from the Monster of Peladon. I say Monster of Peladon, this is quite a loose approximation of what she wears in that story because we never actually see her with the jacket done up in the Monster of Peladon. But it means that we're getting a new Sarah Jane variant, and I have no objection to that whatsoever, even if it does slightly compromise it. But once again, we have an amazing likeness of Elizabeth Sladen, young Elizabeth Sladen. And the upper body is a reuse of the original classic Sarah Jane figure. But then the legs are them same Sarah Jane legs from the Sarah Jane Adventures. And one thing that's quite noteworthy and quite funny is that all three figures from this set use the same legs. I just found that quite funny. I forgot to mention it in my reaction video, but I found that quite funny. But why not? If it works, it works. And then finally, the set that I think everyone was most excited for, and I certainly had a hard time picking this one up. It is the Unit 1975 Terror of the Zygons set. So we'll start off with the Fourth Doctor from the story in his hat, which I can't remember what it's called. So sorry, I should have looked that up. And his scarf and his season 12 costume with some amazing new paint apps on the legs for the to get the sort of effect of the trousers. But looking at the brand new head sculpt for the Fourth Doctor, this is very nice. I know a lot of people complained about it, but if you look at it in person, I think it's really good. I know some people still aren't happy with it, but I'm really happy with it. I really like it. And to me, it's a dead ringer for Tom Baker. So you can see. And then the brilliant detailing of the hat and the scarf with the great paint apps, bringing across that tartan effect. Otherwise, we've seen this figure before. It's a reuse of the Sontaran Experiment, Genesis of the Daleks figures with the duffel coat. But this time with the accurate season 12 tie and waistcoat, because it was somehow inaccurate on the originals. But there we go. What a brilliant figure. This is probably the one I've spent the most time sort of messing around with and reposing. It's absolutely brilliant. Finally, we have Sergeant Benton, or RMS Benton, I think he's referred to in Terror of the Zygons. This is the same figure that we got last time. So once again, brilliant lines, John Levine. But this time, the unit uniform is in a camo effect, which looks great. I'm really, really happy with how this has come out, actually. As well, accurate rifles. That's something that bugged a lot of people with the first figure. I didn't mind the original rifles, but it's just an added bonus that we're getting accurate ones now. So it's absolutely terrific. And I really, really like this one, actually. And then finally, we have a definitely not Captain Yates from Terror of the Zygons, which is technically just a generic unit soldier from that story. And you can tell because they gave Captain Yates a moustache, which you can still quite obviously tell it's Captain Yates, but the moustache does hide it somewhat. Obviously, this was because they had probably no choice but to try and reuse the unit body on more than one figure. But apart from that, it's exactly the same as the Benton figure, just with a different head. But all the same, it's very, very cool. So there we go, guys. There is the B&M Autumn 2020 wave. We've got some absolutely amazing, amazing figures in this wave. Particular highlights are, of course, the Fourth Doctor, Romana 1, Romana 2, and I would have to say the TARDIS. So let me know what you guys think. Have you bought any of these sets yet? Are you going to pick these sets up in B&M stores? They are $19.99 each. And yeah, let me know. Oh, articulation. I almost forgot articulation. They are all pretty much the same because it is the standard sort of Doctor Who figure book. So we have, I'll use Sarah Jane for an example. We've got swivel head, swivel shoulders, articulation at the biceps, articulation at the elbow, swivel at the wrists. It's a bit stiff on mine, but yeah, articulation at the wrists, then swivel waist, sort of ball hinged hip, swivel at the thigh, and a hinge at the knee. So that is pretty much it. I can't think of anything else to say about these figures. They are all really, really good, and I would highly recommend that you head on out and pick them up. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and I will see you again soon for possibly another Doctor Who action figure review. Bye.